What's up, guys? Welcome to Mo Sports TV on Millions. I have my guy here, Marcus Blakely, former professional player. He had staying in the NBA too with the Los Angeles Clippers and the Houston Rockets. Played overseas. Has an excellent track record and a great story for the current basketball players to hear about how they can proceed on with their basketball journey too. How's it going, Marcus?
Good. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. For a lot of people they may not know a lot about you. Would you like to tell your story and how you got started with basketball?
Yeah. I guess it all started kind of in high school. My
Yeah,
sophomore year, I was 5'8", and then junior year, I became 6'3". So that's when colleges and big time recruiting started happening. I wanted to be a big fish in a small pond,
yeah.
not get over recruited, and be able to kind of show what I could do on and off the floor. Uh, but yeah, that kind of led me to the University of Vermont, where I went there for 4 years. Was inducted to the Hall of Fame there. Was able to go to the NCAA tournament and kind of shine that way, which enabled me to go with the Clippers for a little bit and went to the D League route. Got a call up from the Rockets, 10-day call up from the Rockets, and then eventually started going overseas. My first place was the Philippines, where I
Mm,
stayed there for 5, 6 years, and then I went to Korea for 3, and then ended in Japan for 2. That was like when COVID happened. I had to get
yeah.
back on this side of the pond, so yeah, it was. It's definitely been a ride. Basketball's definitely taught me a lot. I think with the landscape that we have now, it kind of just creates more options and avenues for athletes.
Wow, that's so beautiful to hear, bro. Talking about you being 5'8" to 6'3", I kind of wish I was blessed with that. You
Yeah, it
talk about
definitely hurts,
University.
but
You talk about going to University of Vermont. Were there any other schools that were approaching you at that time, and how did you deal with the whole transition of it, actually picking Vermont?
yeah, there was definitely a lot of people in the recruiting process, a lot of NEC schools at that time,
Yeah,
Big East, so Rutgers, West Virginia. There's some bigger schools that were recruiting. I kind of went down the list of pros and cons of what on and off the floor what it was going to provide. Obviously, with the scholarship, you're getting a free education. So, kind of picking the best academic school that if I didn't play basketball, where would I go?
yeah,
Making that decision. And then obviously trying to be the big fish in a small pond where I get the attention uh, on and off the floor academically and basketball wise so I could become a better player, and student at that point. And that's where I landed with the University of Vermont. Like I said, it was an easy choice for me,
hmm
considering that they had high academics. They were, top of the conference every year, chance to go to the NCAA tournament. And, the people around me that, kind of made it all happen. That's one thing that I think a lot of kids nowadays with NIL don't do too much of is have loyalty of sitting down for 4 years and going to school and kind of reaping the benefits from that. It's hard to, switch teams, let alone switch organizations, if you want to say schools,
yeah.
every year and produce at a high level. So, mm, weighing the pros and cons, I think, is the biggest thing um, on and off the floor. And like I said, if you're able to play at a high level on the floor, a lot of the other things will come after.
Right, that's great. I was speaking with Todd Larson the other week, and he talked about his favorite college memory playing college basketball. What was yours at Vermont? What was that moment when you was like, "Whoa, like this is actually where I want to be"?
I mean, there's two, and it's kind of crazy because one happened my freshman year, and then one happened my senior year. My freshman
Yeah,
year was, you know, I'm getting a couple minutes a game. We're in the championship game now, and I get put in, and I have like a top 10 Sports Center highlight that, like, to me, kind of put me out there to, expose other avenues and gain other opportunities. But then, full circle comes senior year, where championship game again. I'm the senior on the team. Uh, there's maybe a couple minutes left before we know if we're going to NCAA tournament. We're playing Boston, and I just dunk on this dude pretty hard, and it kind of just sealed the deal of, like, we're gonna go to the tournament.
I hope you.
Everybody and all the right decisions that you made, or the decisions you made freshman year, or to come to Vermont, kind of were like, man, this is why you come here, and
For the people at Millions, I hope you guys can find that video and put it on the thumbnail. But
yeah, yeah. I got one more. One more would be the slam dunk contest, though. Winning the slam
okay,
dunk,
okay,
dunk
yeah. I
contest
hope
my
they see
senior
this. I
year.
hope they see this.
Yeah, because
I've been speaking with a lot of college players lately, and a lot of them transitioning into the pro. A lot of players nowadays don't really have the right direction in their careers right now. Talk about how it was for you heading into the pro route. Finding an agent and how the people that helped you.
yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like what got me started in what I'm doing today with 25/8, of
Yeah,
having organic representation and kind of knowing the different levels, from high school to college to the professionals to overseas, of how to move as a business or a brand. I think really understanding every step of the way and making the right decision is what inevitably creates success. A couple wrong moves early, or not having a good base of, like you said, an agent, or even tax wise, or you know uh, investment wise. There's a lot of different avenues that aren't thought about off the floor, that I think, with representation and organically speaking, it's like somebody that's been through everything from high school to playing in the NBA. The way I see it is, if you're able to have a sound base early at 16, 17, 18, 19,
yeah.
that once 30 comes, you're not really worried about grabbing your next contract, or like how long you're going to play, because a lot of people have to realize the average is 3 years as a basketball player. How much professionally. So you got 4 years in college, 3 years professionally. That's 7 years to make as much money as you can and build your brand out, right? Not everybody's going to make it to the NBA. Not everybody's going to get their scholarship opportunity, but how you strategically place yourself to be better each year, or better each team that you're on, I think is how success is made.
Yeah, that's great. That's for a lot of college players watching this. He giving out free game, man. Before we talk about
Yeah.
25-8, before we talk about 25-8, talk about that moment with the Clippers. What was it like? Training camp. Who was the player that gave you the toughest moments?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an eye-opening experience. I think, coming from
Yeah,
Vermont, being the guy at Vermont, and then going to a loaded Clippers team during Lob City. I was guarding Blake Griffin at practice, and DeAndre Jordan. There's Grant Hill, Jamal Crawford, Randy Foy, Chris Paul. I mean, there's people that go down in history as some of the best players I've seen or played against uh,
yeah.
at that level, and just seeing their intensity um, when it comes to getting better, getting shots up, competitiveness, um, you know, being able to really fine tune their skill, is what, to me, I learned the most, which I think is what gave me that 10-year career post NBA. That, like, the ability to work in the gym or in the weight room, or the way you can conduct yourself on social media, and social media engagements. There's so many different things that you learned along the way. Um, and having somebody like a Grant Hill who was like on my binder, in middle school to like sitting on the bench next to him, it's like you can't help but to learn and understand what you've kind of created, and how other people's successes can compare, and you could grab certain things from them and make yourself better. So
I love that experience. You actually made use of that opportunity with the Clippers, and which is great to see. After the Clippers, we're going to talk about overseas. I know you had a great career overseas. What was it like living in overseas? Like, being American and going across the pond. A lot of guys are not used to that. And, how did you adjust? And, how did you, just stay level headed being away from your family?
yeah, I mean, it's definitely an adjustment. You miss a lot of holidays, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, all of that, because basketball season is during that season. So it definitely takes
Yeah.
a little adjustment to where you are. Obviously, language barriers. There's a lot of different places I went where English was not the first language. So it opens your spectrum not just to basketball, but to the world of like how other people live and their cultures, and living in a different country. And I always say this, I think that an overseas player can always be an NBA player, but an NBA player can not always be an overseas player. And it's for that reason exactly, where you're away from your family, you're, overseas where they might not speak the native language that you speak, and how adaptive are you to that? And to go from playing overseas to the NBA, I feel like that's the easy transition versus somebody from the NBA having to go play overseas. That's a tough transition because it's not like you have the state of art facilities. It's not like you have the state of the art trainers. Like that's where your grind of how bad do you want it kind of sets in, and your professional mannerisms, if you want to say, uh, show whether you're ready or not.
Yeah, I was actually watching a video of Mario Chalmers and why he actually quit basketball because he went overseas and he was like, "Oh man, like you get late payments. It's not like the NBA." And like you said, most NBA players cannot play overseas, and it's like seeing those guys talk about that experience of like sitting down, like DeMarcus Cousins saying like overseas ain't for everybody, and what was your favorite moment being playing overseas? Like, what was the moment where you was like, "Oh yeah, I love it here."
Well, I mean, that would have to be the Philippines, honestly.
Okay.
We were able to accomplish a grand slam, which is winning 4 titles in a row, which like really wasn't done too many times. It'd be almost like three-peating in the NBA, right? In the Philippines Basketball Association (PBA). So that to me was one of the biggest staples because, like I said, the guys on my team, we we had a bond that was very, and the coach, everybody was just like probably the easiest team for me to play on, and when it's easy, uh, I don't mean easy. It was definitely hard to get there and to win it, but um, being around those guys and getting better and having being on the same track of winning was very easy to get on. And after doing that, you see how many people you affect in a third world country like the Philippines, which basketball is number one, right? So you see from a cultural standpoint how much on the floor affects off the floor. So yeah, I think that specific instant, I still have friends that I talk to today from that team. It's a lot when you get to creating moments that affect other people in other countries or mass amount of people over a sports game. I think that's where the memories are kind of made.
You talk about winning the Grand Slam. Was that something you guys talked about before the season, or you just said, "Oh, let the season start and we're gonna"? Just roll with it.
I didn't even know it was a thing until uh the last season. So there's four seasons that happened, right? And
Hmm.
we're
Hmm.
able to win the first one. And by the time that I came back for the fourth one, I learned what the Grand Slam was, and that's kind of what made it worth it all, I'd say. It's to be like put in the history books, something that can't be erased, something that can't be taken away, that you've affected a lot of people in the right way to get behind something simple as a basketball game, or a sports game. So I think that's where sports kind of run the world and are affecting more than just the people playing it.
Yeah. We talk about, like I said, when we talked about the Mario Chalmers with the whole late payments and playing overseas and not having the same quality of infrastructure as the NBA. Did you ever deal with any bad moments playing overseas, and how did you deal with it, and how did you overcome that situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of instances I would say you have to, leave the country in a week, 2 days, 5 days, pack up everything and go. You might get there and your bag might not be there, but you still got to be ready to practice. You still got to be ready to play, and that's why I think the atmosphere of a basketball player in the NBA and overseas is totally different, right? In the NBA, you don't worry about what jersey or your shoes or what you're going to eat after the game. Overseas, it's a full grind of what am I putting in my body, right? When am I going to sleep? The time adjustment, right? The language barriers. There's so many, the food barriers, right? You got to find things that you can eat that you would like to eat that can continue to make you better, without getting sidetracked. So there's a lot of different things that are now put on like the athlete's side of it, versus the team side of it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But like I said, it's how adaptive you are to your surroundings. I call it how coachable you are in life, if that makes sense, because you could learn a lot of plays or tactics on the floor, but like how are you applying that to life? I think you're muted.
I'm sorry.
There
I
you
do
go.
the same thing you're doing too, but in a different atmosphere. I've heard players tell me like they've had coaches that never spoke English talking to them on the sideline. Or it's just that language barrier. How did you deal with that? Most guys like they'll be there like, man, my coach can't speak English. How am I supposed to do this or run plays and stuff like that? How did you overcome that language barrier overseas?
Well, I think in general, you have to have a lot of patience, right? But when you think
Mhm.
about basketball or sports in general, it's universal. So, like saying pick and roll, yeah, you might say it in a different language, but we're still talking the same game, right? And
Yeah,
kind of getting on the understanding of what do you need from me and what do I need from you, uh, from the beginning. And I think, like I said, that's where I kind of saw that I was able to represent myself early in my career, because I was able to be transparent with, hey, this is what I would need, and what do you need from me, right? And where can we add value to each other without friction, right? Uh, and like I said, being patient, that's the biggest thing. Not everybody knows English. And as soon as you leave the United States, it's very apparent. And then that's not something that like you can't adapt to, but it just will take some time.
yeah. Patience is virtual, man.
Yeah.
Going off topic a little bit, what do you think about the current landscape in basketball right now? Because we're seeing a lot of players from Europe and other countries taking over the NBA, and a lot of American players now I just think NIL is making a lot of players in America complacent because now our top five players in the league are from different countries. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think in general, if we want to say comparisons, right? The United States is the NBA, whereas
Yeah,
Europe is overseas, right? So you're definitely going to have that mentality and grind and grit of wanting to make it to the NBA. So that's where the comparison of an NBA player playing overseas, that's a little different than, a European player or an overseas player coming and playing in the United States, because it's kind of like proving yourself. So that's where, like you said, being, I guess, not fulfilled with where you're at, is kind of the main mentality. Uh, because a lot of guys are coming into the NBA from the overseas and have that drive or have that off court presence or on court presence that the NBA is looking for, right?
yeah,
From a state side, everybody in an AAU tournament or high school summer leagues and it or summer leagues, drew leagues, whatever it is, it's not a grinded out, gritted out type of thing. It's everybody gets playing time. There's trophies for everybody, right? There's a place for everybody. Where it's if you're not first, you're last in Europe, right?
yeah,
And to not have that mentality, I think, is one of the biggest things from a young age NIL standpoint that you have to have. When you do just numbers of how many people there are in the world that play basketball, for instance, how many spots there are in an NBA roster, and you divide that, it's less than a percent, half of a percent of a chance that you have. So knowing that, is your mentality strong enough to say that I just deserve to go to the NBA or I should have gone to the NBA? Probably not, right? It's a mental game, and I think how far you get depends on how mentally strong you are, mentally tough you are.
yeah. Definitely, you gotta be mentally strong. Before we get off, I got some questions to ask you. I've been seeing a lot on Instagram lately. Um, do you put Kobe in your top five? Or
For sure. For sure. For sure. I'm an old school guy. I grew up with like the Knicks, Patrick Ewing
yeah.
days.
Oh,
So
that's before me.
I'm still a Michael type of guy. Obviously, there's LeBron and Kobe. All of them, I think, would be in the top five for me. And I think they all have different attributes, right?
Yeah.
Kobe's mentality was just unlike anybody else's. Not to say Jordan's wasn't, but Jordan's dominance to go win 3 rings in a row, go play another sport, come back, and then win three
And win
again
three rings. Yeah.
is nuts, right? Unheard of. And then you got LeBron, who's like playing for 20 plus years and still at the same pretty dominant level. I wouldn't say as much dominance as Kobe or LeBron or Jordan, but LeBron's longevity is just like incredible, and what he's been able to historically break records is another one. So you got to put them all in the top five. I think in which order is always a dispute. I don't know, but definitely put them in my top five.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. Kobe is in my top five because Kobe got me started with basketball after watching the 2010 Game 7 against the Celtics. That's what got
Yeah,
me into basketball. So it's like, I kind of find it disrespectful for Kevin Durant to say, oh, one guy took a break to go play baseball. But you got to think about it. He took a break and came back and won 3 rings in a row. That's a different mentality. Like, not a lot of guys can do that. But yeah, before we get out, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a lot of free game, a lot of things I've learned that you said so far. It means a lot. I'm gonna follow you
all
guys
right.
on Instagram through my page, and hopefully we can stay connected from here.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much. You too.
All right.